Good afternoon, class. My name is Cami Wilson, and today for my demonstrative speech, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the nutrition labeling on food packaging, how to read it, some of the common malpractices, so to speak, or mistakes that we make when reading food packaging, and some of the guidelines and purposes for why that's important. According to the American Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the rising rate of obesity in this country is coming alongside with the leading causes of preventable death, and currently 30% of American adults fall into the category of obese. Part of what we can do as a country to combat that is coming alongside of an active and healthy lifestyle with healthy and well-thought diet and nutritional habits. So primarily, to establish good eating habits, you tend to cook in your own kitchen, and you tend to shop the outside of the grocery store. Having a good idea of what nutrition falls into your fresh produce, your fresh meats, and your dairy and cheeses is a good idea. However, you're going to have to supplement those fresh foods and garden foods with prepackaged and oftentimes processed foods that come along with the Food Administration's standard nutrition fact chart that's placed on every food package that you're going to purchase as a consumer in America, and it's important to know how to rate those in order to effectively measure the nutrition that you're gaining from your food. So a standard nutrition chart looks something like this. I'm sure we all recognize it from food in our own pantries, but I did this particular blow up of Caramel Delights, otherwise known as Samoa Girl Scout cookies, as one of my primary weaknesses in processed foods. I think it's a really good demonstration for the different ingredient listings and kind of how we go about those. So the first thing that you see on a nutrition fact label is your serving size, in this case 2 cookies. Alongside serving size is the amount of servings that you should be able to obtain from that container. So 8 servings of 2 cookies each. There's 16 Girl Scout cookies in a box. That is important because, first of all, you need to understand that when you consume a product based on that serving size, if you consume less or more, feeds into the calculation of your actual nutritional intake from that food. Also, the serving size and everything labeled on the nutrition fact information is based on a 2,000 calorie diet recommendation, where some people require a lower and some people require a higher caloric intake. So determining your daily values is going to be skewed based on your total caloric intake, and also the total intake of nutritional value from a food is going to be skewed based on how much of an actual serving that you consume. Recommended versus actual intake oftentimes, from a problem standpoint, falls in the fact that we see that these cookies are only 130 calories per serving, but that's also only if you eat 2 of them. On larger food packaging, and I didn't have space to include it on the poster, but you can find a footnote that's the standard FDA table for daily value percentage intakes, and it gives the recommendation based on a 2,000 calorie diet and based on a 2,500 calorie diet. For some of us that are lower calorie consumers, you'd have to do your own calculations, but there's plenty of tools out there to help with figuring out proper nutritional intake and how to balance across the board the different values that you need to pay attention to. So after you get through your informational serving size and everything else, alongside of the amount of calories per serving is the amount of calories from fat. This is an important thing to look at because in the case of a Girl Scout cookie, 60 of your 130 calories is from fat, saying that nearly 50% of that product is fat consumption. When you look down at your total fat, being 6 grams, that's only 9% of your daily value, but that's 9% in 2 cookies. And it's a product that is primarily, not necessarily primarily because it is less than half, but it's a high-fat product in terms of your content. So you have to remember to look at this and calculate for yourself what percentage of that given packaged product actually is giving you calories that are from fat rather than other nutrition. The reason why it's important to look at total fat, which breaks down into saturated and trans fat, and then cholesterol, sodium, and your total carbohydrate intake, is because those are kind of the bad stuff of your food label. And when you look at this percent value for the bad stuff, you're trying to stay within a 100% limit within that 2,000 calorie diet. It's an upper limit for your diet. They actually recommend with your fat, your cholesterol, and your sodium that the lower you can keep those things within your diet, the healthier. You certainly don't ever want to max that upper limit, and particularly with saturated and trans fat, have been shown to be strongly linked to high bad cholesterol or LDL cholesterol levels, which links directly to heart disease and problems. Also, you'll notice that most of the pure measurements are given in grams, except for in the case of cholesterol and sodium, which are measured in milligrams based on the daily limit. And for sugar and for trans fat, there is no percent recommendation because there is no recommendation other than keeping those as low as possible within your diet. So after you get through your bad foods, there's kind of a dividing line on the package that is normally a thicker black line, and you have a bottom encasement of ingredients or nutrition that is vitamins and minerals and the true nutrient of the food. And that section can be pretty big sometimes with healthy foods that have a lot of vitamins to offer. And again, those are given in percent daily value. They don't give a milligram measurement for that, but you can look up based on the 2,000 calorie diet what the recommendation is. And actually, sometimes in healthy foods, rather than seeing 0%, 0%, 0%, and 2%, you'll see something like 120% of your daily calcium recommendation, because you can go over. Those listings based on the 100% recommendation are a minimum for the amount of nutrients that you should take in a day. So remember, when you're on the bad side of the nutrition chart, you want to stay under 100%. You're given a high bar for your recommendation, and when you're on your nutrition, like your nutrient side of the table, you're looking to meet a minimum of 100% within a day. Any food that offers above 20% of any given listed in like ingredient or nutrient would be considered high in that. So Girl Scout cookies would be considered high in fat at a 25% daily value rating. And anything listed below 5%, for example, your 2% iron intake that you get from those Samoa Girl Scout cookies would be considered low or negligible. And that's with both your good and your bad ingredients. So the wrap-up or overall thought to consider when it comes to reading nutrition facts is that it's about creating a balance with your lifestyle, with activity, with diet, and just taking into consideration everything that you do to keep your body well maintained. And then also understanding percent daily value is really important to understanding what you're reading when you look at nutrition facts. If you want to know one more key other than looking at the actual numbers listed on a nutrition chart, below this is your ingredient listing. And ingredients are always given in descending order by weight. So when your first ingredient is sugar, you're primarily eating sugar with that product. Unknown ingredients are something to look out for. Things that have crazy names that sound like they're made in a laboratory probably were. And the shorter the list, the better in terms of the whole food nature of a product. I picked Girl Scout cookies because they're a weakness for me. The annual splurge that you're going to take by consuming Girl Scout cookies, probably not a big deal when you balance it in a healthy lifestyle. But just remember that even though 2 cookies is only 130 calories, when you eat the whole box like my husband does, you're consuming a whole lot more than what's noted on the chart. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my presentation about nutrition facts and labeling. If you want to know any more information about dietary needs and nutrition, you can go to the Food and Drug Administration's website and find out more about the technicalities of labeling, and to the CDC's website for lifestyle, fitness, and diet recommendations. They're really cool to check out and investigate, and I would recommend it. Thank you again.